I want to take a few more minutes to spend some time talking to you about the rest of the inspection of your personal fall arrest system. Now we're going to come back in a little while and we're going to talk about the inspection of safety posts and how to handle them. But because we started by talking about harnesses, let's go on and talk about the other things that are associated with your personal fall arrest system. For one thing, you want to pay attention to your self-retracting lifeline. All of you are going to be issued an SRL or a yo-yo. We call it a yo-yo sometimes. That has various parts to it, all of which need some level of inspection. For example, there's a carabiner. The carabiner attaches on the back to your D-ring. It has a rolling gate on it, a rolling lock on it. So you roll that open. Once you get it completely open and away from the latch, then you take your hand off of it and it should shut itself. If it doesn't do that, there's something wrong and you need to find out what's wrong with that. When you hold the harness or hold the yo-yo housing in your hand, you should be able to pull out the self-retracting lifeline, and then you should be able to test by pulling it very quickly. You should be able to test whether the braking system is working. If you pull the lanyard all the way out, you should be able to examine all the parts of it, all the length of the lanyard, to make sure that there are no burns in it, there's no melting, there's no alteration of it. If it starts to get worn or starts to get a nick, especially out of the sides of it, you want to pay attention to that because that will create a tear factor. Also down around where the shock pack is encased in plastic. If that particular location where the plastic goes up against the lanyard, watch to see that there's not been any wear. Sometimes that plastic has sharper edges than we want it to have, and that can start to wear on your lanyard. The other thing that you want to do is take the other end of it, which is a double latching hook. Once again, open it so that it's entirely open. Take your hand away and it should shut. Now, those are some ways that you can examine and inspect your yo-yo or your SRL. Also, your beamer. If you have a beamer, and you should, check to make sure that it's working, functioning, that the latch latches into the slots where it fits. Make sure, once again, that there are no arc strikes on it. Very often beamers, because of the way in which they're used, will come into contact with a electrode, a welding rod, as it's in the electrode holder. So sometimes they get an arc on them. Once you've had an arc on anything that is part of your safety equipment, it could be the housing of your SRL, your beamer, any of your anchorage points, your clips on your lanyards, any of those, make sure that you retire them, tell your foreman that they've got an arc strike on them, and so therefore they're invalid. Another thing that I don't think I've mentioned thus far is your lanyards. Pull your lanyards out, have a look at them. Very often, because of the location in which you're using them, the lanyards will have small hot balls of metal that'll come off of welding. They'll get caught on them, especially if you have the scrunchy type. If the scrunchy type is what's been issued you, then you want to have a look at it and make sure that hot metal hasn't melted that in any way. Sometimes the outside can get a bit damaged and that's still okay, but especially what you want to make sure of is that nothing has gotten through the outside into the actual core, which is the heart of the lanyard and what's going to keep you safe. Once again, open those rolling locks on the hooks. Make sure that they self-close without any impediment whatsoever. So those are all things that you need to be aware of when you are inspecting your personal fall arrest system. Now we're going to come back and discuss a little bit more later on, but in the next video we're going to start talking about safety posts and making sure that they're in good operational order.